going.
All right, we sound great.
Recording. Yep.
Cool. And I can actually sit with this chair close enough that I can actually. My back is so fucked from that fucking trampoline. Oh my god, dude. Fuck. All right. Are they recording?
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
nice. No countdown.
Hey,
Nothing?
the guest clap.
I just took the clap away from you.
Would you like to
Countdown,
clap?
It's all
no
good. I
anything.
think it was stolen from me. It's all right.
He came all the way from Vegas for this.
Hey,
and
we
you
don't
fucking
need
robbed
to.
him.
You don't need to clap anymore. Premiere's got auto sync.
Yeah, we use DaVinci now.
I used to use
DaVinci's
Premiere's great.
insane.
I know. I got to transfer over. It's just like,
You can just take every shortcut from Premiere. And
yeah. Everybody talks about shortcuts. I don't use shortcuts in Premiere.
I have to. Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. I was gonna say I show
I'm
you.
probably just a Jerry in that aspect.
No. I wanted. There's this keyboard that I saw. I showed him the video, and the keys are see-through plastic, and there's an LCD screen behind it, so you can have like all these visuals going. And when you open up Lightroom, Photoshop, InDesign, anything like that, the shortcut keys are automatically imprinted in the back,round so you know which keys to hit. It's pretty clever. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. This is
I don't know.
this is 18, right?
What?
Episode 18.
17,
isn't it?
bruh.
No.
Episode 17?
16.
No, it's
We
gotta
did
be. It has to be an
16.
even number because this is the second of our normal recordings. Oh no, we did 2 episodes last night.
Yeah,
didn't
we did 16. So this is 17.
No.
Yes, I have it written down. It says 16 right here.
Are you guys
I think you're right.
bi-monthly?
Maybe we just shouldn't. No, we once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, that's a lot.
Is it?
Once a week is a lot.
Dope. That's a good thing.
It's a lot.
2
yeah.
episodes a night.
Yeah, we record 2. So that way, like if we need to take like 2 weeks off, we have plenty of stuff to
Still,
follow.
yeah. I mean, we did for our podcast, we did once a week for the first month, and then backed off to, and that was part of the plan. But yeah, we backed off to bi-monthly or bi-monthly,
Which is probably what will
bi-weekly,
happen, honestly.
bi-monthly. But yeah, we strictly focus on interviewing guests, so there's a bit.
Oh,
more,
that makes sense.
Bit more of a logistical nightmare there to try to do once a week.
Yeah,
It'll probably happen that way anyways.
for the next. So from last week, this week, next week, and the week after that, we have a special guest for 1 or 2 of our episodes every time. So
Cool.
We got a lot.
So far.
It's pretty dope.
it's nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right.
Anyways, yeah,
Good?
we're on yeah. I've been
So we're
recording
2
for
minutes
like
in?
2
That's okay.
minutes.
All this background. This is like behind the scenes stuff. Okay.
Exactly. That's the intro for every podcast ever.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever applies to you guys. This is 35mm Life. I'm your host, DJ, with my amazing co-host, Mike.
Konnichiwa.
I knew you were going to do that. And we have a very special guest today, my good friend, Kyle.
Awesome, guys.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'm excited to be.
They changed those.
Oh,
There it
there's
is.
the applause. Nice. I'm happy I didn't get the crickets. Oh, yeah, awesome to be here, guys. This is actually the second podcast I've been on, but the first since I've launched my own. So it's interesting to kind of be sitting in the other chair. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh
Does
yeah.
it just feel different at all?
It does.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
You a little bit more
The spotlight's
nervous?
on me a little bit.
A little bit more nervous. Don't have to come in with the questions. No
Yeah,
prep.
I got to come with answers instead of questions now.
Because this camera right here gets our 2 lovely faces, and he gets his own camera over there.
I should have
Special
done with
for
that.
you.
I'm
Special,
sorry,
special.
Kelly. I didn't do that with you,
He
but
did it on purpose. You didn't want Callie to steal all of our thunder, though. You know what I mean?
that beautiful face.
She already has like the good personality and stuff. It wasn't fair to us.
Yeah,
really.
not at all.
I'm mad at you right now, Callie. He'll know why.
She'll listen to this in like 6 weeks and be
So,
like,
yeah. Oh my God, I forgot again. I'm sorry. So anyway, Kyle has, like you said, his own podcast. Pretty successful, pretty awesome. And it's about rock climbing.
Yeah. So basically the premise, we're called the Climbing Majority. And so it was founded through traumatic injury. My buddy and I, Max, we didn't know each other. Excuse me. We didn't know each other before, but we both got injured almost exactly at the same time in separate countries. And we found each other through Instagram through our injuries because I was posting about kind of what was happening. I was kind of documenting the whole process. And he was like, hey, man, I broke my ankles too. You know, like, you want to talk and commiserate?
Trauma bonding.
Trauma
Yeah,
bonding
yeah.
for sure. And so we got on a phone call and we were just vibing, like talking about climbing and talking about injury. And we're just like, I was feeling it, you know?
Mhm.
And I was like, dude, we should start a podcast. And, we kind of chuckled or whatever. And then the next time we talked about 2 weeks later, I was like, I've been thinking about it, man. Like, we should do this.
Oh yeah.
And,
he's in Vegas too, right?
No, he lives in BC, Canada.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
lives
he's a
in Canada.
Canadian.
He's a Canadian, yeah.
Shout out to
So you guys do
Big
like
White North.
the podcast from different areas?
Yeah. We use a site called riverside.fm. It's basically just a virtual studio, essentially this, but virtual. And so, not only can we record ourselves virtually, but we can record our guests virtually.
That's
so
awesome.
we have geographical freedom. which is nice.
Super cool.
But yeah, so we represent what we call the climbing majority. So a lot of the media that's focused around climbing today is based around like what's happening on the edge of the sport, professional athletes, who's sending the hardest, what new routes are being established. But, the majority of climbers today are not professionals. There are people like me, people like, anybody coming from a gym. And so, climbing is such an eccentric sport and such an interesting sport where like, you don't have to be a professional to get life-changing experiences out of it. And so we're here as a podcast to represent that group and bring the focus back to what we think is the majority of climbers.
I like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
really
think
cool.
it's because the popularity from like the Dawn Wall,
100%.
free solo, just everything that was around that?
100%. Yeah. So it's a mixture of media and also accessibility. So, before, back in the day when climbing was a thing, like it started in Yosemite, started in Southern California, at least in America on the West Coast, and climbing gyms weren't really a thing. And so now we have like climbing gyms everywhere. You can climb in a gym really safe. And then essentially, the next progression of that is what? It's outside.
Right.
And then outside of that, yes, you got Free Solo, Dawn Wall, all these like crazy popular movies, Jimmy Chin's getting Golden Globe Awards. So it's just really mainstream now. And so it's much more easy to get access to the ability to climb. And so there's just a lot more of us now that are not professionals in the sport versus professionals.
I think that's awesome though. Like it's because to me, like growing up watching people do rock climbing, it was something I always thought was really cool. But I don't have a fear of heights really, but I have a fear of that sudden stop at the end. Like if you fall, and my dad taught me that. Thanks for that, Dad. I appreciate it. But so seeing all these people do stuff, what was that movie? Was it 47 Hours or?
Yeah, the guy who cut off his arm.
Right, Franco, the actor. So I asked you. I remember asking you this when I first met you, and you said you'd never seen the movie, right?
Nope.
And you don't want to.
I mean, it's not that I don't want to. I guess I just never remember to watch it.
That's fair. I was wondering if it was just like so unrealistic. You're like, no, it's whatever. So
I could judge it if I haven't seen it.
that's true. Just
Very
be able
true.
to, like third party stuff. Like it was so good, bro. So,
But to my understanding, he wasn't really climbing. He was more scrambling, more of adventure kind of scrambling. And yeah, Boulder got dislodged while he was climbing and crushed his hand. It's a true story.
right.
And I've been in Joshua Tree a lot, and I think that's where that story is based out of. I could see that happening for sure.
That'd have been scary though. Like no water, ran out of food.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah.
Most people would die, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd probably die. Yeah.
All of us. No survival here.
No.
Yeah.
So how long have you been climbing for?
It's funny. People ask me this question, and time's starting to fly by pretty quick. But I think at this point, it's been about 9 years.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah.
And then what's like your biggest accomplishment as a climber?
That's
Besides the podcast being...
Yeah, I was going to say beside the podcast.
I wouldn't even say that's an accomplishment as a climber, to be honest. It's all the other skills involved in creating a podcast that make that successful.
I went to, I don't mean to cut you off, but I went to your house to help you move before you guys left.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this menagerie wall of like equipment in his living room, just chilling, right?
Yeah.
It's in
And
my
I was
garage
like-
now.
Oh, nice.
It's more appropriate.
I was going to, I walked, I was like, it's like
The jaw drop just...
well, the only thing I could think of was like 50 Shades of Grey when he like opened the closet and there's all this stuff. And I was like, what is all this stuff? It's so many. And there was like all these hooks, carabiners, everything. And I was like, and it was insane. And I can only imagine as a photographer how much money we have on the shelves.
Right. I
How
was
much
about
money
to
that
say
was.
that.
Yeah, it's funny.
Ridiculous.
Like I've picked probably the top 3 most expensive hobbies you can do: photography and videography, climbing, and street bike racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
You
so-
just did a track day yesterday?
I'm not having kids. I have 3 hobbies instead.
I mean, that's enough money as much as a kid, right?
Well, it's perfect because your girlfriend has a kid, which
Yes.
is the same with mine. Rosa knows I'm a big kid. Oh, for sure, dude. I'm a big kid for that.
Single.
There you go.
I'm going to shout that
We're
out
joking.
every time.
Nah, I'm just
Freedom.
kidding.
So I know I told you this is a podcast, but it's also kind of like a slightly have you met Mike type thing, like trying to get him a date.
Damn, Mike, nice to meet me. Yeah.
Hey, Vegas is full of a lot of people on OnlyFans and a lot of interesting talent down there.
I mean,
So
I'll do some boudoir photography if you really need it.
So, what's funny? So I told Rosa I was going to Vegas, right? I leave tomorrow. It's for my birthday. Taking my buddy Corey and Mike down there. We're going to Comic-Con.
Not this Mike.
Not that Mike. Different Mike.
Different Mike.
And I'm going to Comic-Con. And Corey is my future brother-in-law. He's getting married to my sister. I'm the best man at his wedding. Super, super good guy. He's never been to a con before, but he's always one massive nerd like me, like humongous. So he's super stoked to go because he got off of work. And it's also like his pseudo bachelor weekend kind of thing too.
Okay.
So Mike was like, oh, does he want to go to a teddy bar? And I was like, yeah, probably. He's a red-blooded American. I don't see why not. And And then immediately in my mind, I was like, Rosa's not going to like that. So I was talking to her on the phone yesterday, and I was like, so going to Vegas for a couple days, and it's a bachelor party type thing, and they might want to go to like, you know, a strip club or something. I was like, I don't really want. It's never really been my scene, and that's true. But if they go, I want to go. And she was like, whatever happens in Vegas. And I was like, I know. She's like, no, it doesn't stay in Vegas. You tell me everything. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And she's like, if you want to go, go. She's like, I'm not worried about you. I was like, I feel like this is a trap. I really feel like this is but I'm going to, okay, I'm going to go. And I'm going to see. So I'm either going to be better off on Monday or I'm going to be single on Monday. We'll find out.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck to you.
I'll let you know. I'll text you.
All right.
Yeah,
Best of luck.
it's funny. We're switching places. He came up here to shoot a wedding, and I'm going down to Vegas where he lives now. I think we're just swapping over.
I know. It's like almost to the
Small
hour
spots.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
That's funny.
So yeah, if a lot of people, if you're listening to this, a lot of people, if you guys are listening to this and you're like, well, you have a rock climber. Yeah. Well, he's also a photographer. The job that I do now at Nissan, he's the one that trained me for it. I took his place over. He's moved on to other things, bigger, better, I'm sure, for him. Expanding his horizons. Nick, if you ever listen to this, that's not a slight on you. Don't kill me. Greek God, you. But yeah, he showed me the ropes on shooting the cars and stuff like that. So that's where he comes into that. He's also a Sony shooter.
I am.
Sony all around.
From the beginning.
Be Alpha.
Yep. Same.
Support me,
Be
Be
alpha.
Alpha.
The alpha, like we were talking about.
No betas.
sure.
No betas allowed.
No betas allowed.
Just offended like 7 of our listeners.
We did just have sushi and talked about this whole conversation about being alpha.
Yeah.
And how much of a Chad move that is.
It
just
is.
to be
So
just wear be alpha. And if nobody is in photography, it's just like a
right.
It's a
It's
douche
on the
shirt.
it's
shirt.
a douche shirt.
And it's
What
just
is
it's so
that?
it's right in the middle of the chest when I walk around, and I feel so self-conscious about it. Because I know I was just talking to you guys about this, but if somebody turns around like some Karen, like, oh, you think you're an alpha? No, it's a comfortable shirt, bro. You know,
Bitch,
and
it
it's
says
Sony. Right here, Sony. Read
No, the
that
answer
part.
is yes, I fucking do. Don't question my alpha.
Test my gangster again.
I'm so alpha. I have to wear a shirt that says it.
Everybody was just like the motorcycle guys on South Park.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying attention to us.
It's so funny. They start doing it to themselves at the end. Like, see, they're doing it to ourselves.
Doing it to ourselves.
That's funny.
So good. So you've been climbing for about 9 years.
Yep.
How long have you been in photography and videography?
That's a good question too. Things I haven't thought of very much.
The other side of the podcast.
That means we're doing good.
Yeah. So
when they start getting nervous in the
how I got
boards.
it, how I got into photography, I was living in San Diego. I had been climbing for probably maybe 2 or 3 years at this point, and I use that pretty loosely. But I met my buddy Josh, the guy who was actually the brainchild behind this actual product here.
Which is a really cool product.
Really cool.
This is like in the beginning of the stage of this where it's still like a concept. And he's like, let's get out of San Diego. Let's go adventure. Let's go move to Aspen. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. So we moved to Aspen, and I bought a drone. He was like, I got the camera. I was like, I got the drone. Let's go shoot some stuff out in Aspen while we work out there as fine dining servers at the 5-star resorts out there. And so quickly, I started flying the drone. So I've been flying the drone for probably about 7 or 8 years now. But the camera came about a year after that because I was just tired of having him have a camera and not me. I was just like, all right, it's time for picking up a camera.
Yeah, very fair.
And so he had the A7R2.
Wow.
And he's like, all right, so I got a picture camera. Like, why don't we get you a video camera? And I'm like, all right, that makes logical sense.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know shit at this time. And so I was like, I just basically following his judgment. And so I got the A7S1, like the first
nice.
A7F series. Yeah. And what do I say? It was it was great. It's like a mirrorless camera. It was really cool. I had a 25 millimeter prime, and it was a great first camera to start with. But I don't know about you guys, but you guys are photographers and you were more video as well. But like when you first pick up a camera, and maybe this is just my bias, but like I felt like it's easier to learn the camera by taking pictures versus video.
True.
Yeah.
And so like I felt at a disadvantage because not only did the shutter on that camera sound like a geriatric camera, it was like it's like it was struggling to take a picture. It's like, why are you making me take pictures?
It's the Joe Biden of cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was about to say the same exact thing.
And so like that part of it was like the experience of it was a little hard. And it's a 12 megapixel camera because it's for video, right? And so like I felt because he had the R2 was a 42 megapixel at the time. And so it's just a vast difference. And so like obviously mine was meant for video, but I was learning photography. And so, yeah, it was just an interesting experience. But yeah, I was built, born into Sony. I was born in Alpha.
That's right.
That's how he came out. His first word was alpha.
Can we have that as a Sony branding?
Yeah,
born
born
into
alpha. There we
born
go.
Alpha.
Born alpha. That's
the new shirt.
That's
Oh
a
my
little baby
gosh.
garments.
Yeah.
Just start indoctrinating them when they're babies.
Born alpha.
But yeah, I guess that's the long answer to your question. I've probably been shooting about like 5 or 7 years, but it started off really slow and really like hobbyist and with no real direction other than like I want to document my adventures as a climber.
Oh man,
I feel like that's actually like a really good niche to get into, because sometimes when people start with photography, they're either going to do like portrait or they're going to do landscape or they're going to do the whole thing until they find their niche, or they're just going to be a hobbyist forever. When you had that direction of like, I'm going to be a documenter of rock climbing, then you had that sense of direction. That's where you're going to take your craft.
Yeah. And it helped with like this. I mean, I guess it really didn't matter because that was what I was doing regardless, right? I was climbing, I was adventuring. And so the camera was just there and now as an additional tool.
Right? Yeah.
And so now I'm just taking pictures of where I'm at.
There's one more thing in your bag.
Yeah. And trust me,
Which was heavy already.
Heavy as fuck already. Yeah. But yeah, so it just kind of like came with me and it was just like an accessory. As a, like, if you want to get into like climbing photography or climbing production, it's like, I don't know if I want to call it a dead end because obviously some people can be successful, but I mean, climbing is already a really niche sport. Like there's not a lot of people compared to the masses of people that are actually climbing.
Right.
And so to be a photographer, you've got to like live in a van, go live in Yosemite, know climbing really well, be able to rappel off of El Cap and just hang out there on the wall and shoot pro climbers as they're climbing with your rig. Yeah. And so like, and you're doing it all for free. And you got to do it, and you got to build relationships with these guys. Like, it's a very tight knit community. Like, if they don't know you, they're not gonna. It doesn't. Right. You could take an amazing picture. It doesn't matter. You got to be in the community. You got to be a climber. You got to have respect for the community. And so it's like this. You got to really commit to being like a climbing photographer or a climbing documenter. Unless you're like, the way I see the direction kind of moving now. Fast forward into the future a little bit is like, now that I have all these skills, like now I could approach, an up and coming some person with a story maybe, and I could like shoot a documentary or a story about this person as long as I've got the relationship with them. Yeah. But early on, if you're trying to like be a climbing photographer, you gotta commit.
You gotta be in the sport.
Makes sense.
You gotta be in the sport and you gotta commit to like not climbing, hanging on the wall, and like shooting people and spending your entire day doing that for free.
That definitely makes it a lot harder compared to like us just reaching out to people on Instagram, like, hey, do you want to model for us? Right. Like that's
cold calling
such a tight
sucks, but
niche, right?
You would have to cold call from like 3,000 feet off the ground,
right?
With like a 1 inch in diameter rope between you and falling.
Yeah,
terrifying.
That's so scary.
Rope's the safest part.
See, you say that, and I believe you. I have no reason not to believe you. You know more than I do.
It's what the rope's clipped to that can get dangerous.
I've seen Final Destination, homie. I've seen all these movies. I know what happens. Yeah. Cliffhanger. Yeah. That was like Ace Ventura 2 with the raccoon, the trash panda, and he falls.
I don't think I've seen that.
The buckle must be plastic because it starts to warp and then breaks and then chinks at the very end.
Okay.
And then he's like, I have to catch you, save you now. And then the raccoon falls and it's like this big thing, and it's a very direct ripoff of the Cliffhanger movie with Sylvester Stallone. Just hilarious. It's funny though you bring that up about the camera stuff as far as being a photographer and doing it, because we were talking about Bear Grylls.
I know who he is, yeah.
He's got like a TV shows, survival, whatever. Nobody ever seems to talk about his videographer. Like the guy that goes around with him and gets all this footage and stuff, because Bear Grylls it's a requirement that anybody that's his videographer has to do the exact same stuff that he does. They have to eat exactly what he does and all that stuff and maintain great quality for his show.
What do you think about all those rumors about him having like a resort RV off to the side?
Just off to the side? That's kind of I feel like there's got to be some kind of validity to that at one point, but at the other time he does all those shows with celebrities, and not once, and maybe because they had to sign an NDA, but not once did any of the celebrities be like, oh yeah, they were pizza catered the whole event or whatever. Like, but at the same time, I remember when Survivor first came out when it was in Hawaii, and they're like, oh, we're like, oh, so many miles away from civilization. And I'd spent a third of my life in Hawaii, and I was like, dude, there's literally
Survivor's a bunch of crap.
Oh, for sure. But I was
the
like, there's
the
literally
challenges
McDonald's
and stuff
5 miles
are
away.
cool to watch, but like the sociodynamics and all that, it's all scripted.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Big Brother, all that kind of stuff. All those shows are,
and it's like great, it's entertaining. But anybody who thinks it's like word for word
Real?
reality, it's like, I mean, that's the same with all TV shows.
right.
I think like to for people with money and power that are developing these shows and rely on statistics and money coming in for people watching, they're not going to rely on these people, these actors, not even random people coming on the show to run how the show is going to go based off of their socio-political, whatever, the way they think or the way they act. It's got to be scripted in some way. Absolutely. Otherwise, the whole show could tank because everybody you bring on sucks or something.
Even the ones that are under the guise of like social experimentation, still have to be some kind. And it's like, it may not be scripted word for word, but they say, okay, you guys need to talk about this, have this argument in this room.
Exactly.
And so for Bear Grylls, like, I want to think that it's completely legit because I've always thought it's a really entertaining show, but that's just it. Again, it's entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. It's entertainment. And that's the thing. Like, I think that, and that's what frustrates me sometimes, I guess, is like when some people take it so literally. It's like, if you take your brain away from it a little bit and think about it, you can definitely see how it's all scripted. But at the same time, you can still have respect for it with that view.
Right.
And just be like, well, this is a production.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot of work. Like, the fact that you can create this and make it seem real is impressive. But to just sit there and be like, oh, this is real. It's like, it's really hard for me.
Yeah, because I refuse to believe that you have a bunch of A-list celebrities that go on a show, like Terry Crews, Captain Marvel was on there. I believe Franco was in an episode too. Like these individuals, these thespians are very successful, and they it's their entire livelihood. And for somebody to fall and shatter their ankle or do something like that, like there's no way. I guarantee, like if that camera flips around real quick and nobody's expecting it, you'll see a whole team, first responders,
100%,
sound crew, like all that kind of stuff. Because there's just no way. Like. And they would have to sign the biggest waiver of their entire lives because their entire career could go out the window. If they
then the big question is what's happening when the cameras are off,
right?
And to me,
there's gaps.
It's like, okay, and cut.
Yeah,
let's go back to the trailer. Let's pop some beers, And they're like, the next day, they're like, all right, do you have enough dirt on your face? Like, let's get you mudded up. All right, and action. You're like, I've been out all night. That's how I feel it is.
3 days.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel like it is, and it's cool. Like we said, it's a production.
Well, I mean, it's the same in here. Like you guys may think that it's just the three of us, but we have a whole sound team back there and audio engineers. And
actually, if this is actually an AI generated wall.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, not again. Over dinner, just talking about AI. Here it
yeah,
comes
we were. I wish you guys. I kind of wish part of the podcast was recorded at dinner. That'd
right,
good.
That would have been funny.
Yeah, we had sushi at a local place here. Kyle and I had a couple drinks, which I think has become pretty customary when we meet up.
Yeah.
And then Mike was there, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good just to kind of get the nerves out a little bit. I mean, I know Kyle pretty well, but I wanted Mike to meet him beforehand too. So,
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. And you're here to shoot a wedding.
I am.
In Oregon?
Yes.
Right. With one of our my coworker now.
Yes.
Since you left us.
Yes.
Bastard. Are you excited about it?
I am. I'm a little nervous. First wedding.
Yeah.
Video or photo?
Video only. Hired a cameraman.
Nice.
So I've got a second shooter.
Also, by the way, guess who is not the photographer?
Who?
You.
Yeah, not me.
Not you. Because you're
the cameraman or the photographer?
Photographer.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, you came late. She already booked someone before you showed up.
I give her shit at work.
Do you want to shoot a wedding?
I love weddings.
Oh, you love weddings?
I do. I have all kinds of weddings.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Just in the future.
If I like this wedding and I like shooting it, hit me up. I'll come back.
I got weddings. Weddings are a whole new thing, man. And I know you have
weddings
to know
are
that.
insane, yeah.
But it's from a photographer's standpoint. We were talking about this before. Bridezillas or groomzillas, they exist. Okay, I'm not trying to be sexist here. And the worst case for me that I've had to do was a bride hired me to do the wedding, but her mother is a professional wedding planner.
Oof.
Who has people on retainer for things.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not one of those things.
Yeah.
So she hired me because she liked my style and my work, which I appreciated. It was cool. Mom hated it because I wasn't one of her people, which means she didn't get a kickback. And she was worried about it the whole time. So she was hovering over my shoulder the entire wedding. oh, don't forget this picture. And don't you think the lighting would be better over here? And I was like, oh,
Yeah, fuck that.
lady,
The absolute worst.
you did not hire me and you did not pay me. Please go away. Like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the most respectful way
I
possible.
feel like at this point for weddings, like I got so much other stuff going on. I feel like if I were to do a wedding, it would be like a reverse vetting process. Be like, okay, you want to hire me? Do I want to work with you?
Yeah.
Is
You
your
ask them
mom
the questions.
involved in the
Is-
wedding? Yes.
seem
No.
chill.
Okay. Pass.
Do I get to eat some of your food? Did I tell you the story?
They better feed you.
They're feeding us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the story though? There was a photographer. Him and his assistant came up and talked to the bride and groom, and they were like, "Hey, we've been shooting for like 6 hours. Do you mind if we get some food real quick?" And they're like, "You're not allowed to eat our food."
What?
And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And the thing is, like, it wasn't in his contract, which I understand, but it's customary for you to feed your DJ, the photographer, videographer. Like, it's customary. It's just a kind of like a thank you. So this dude took it to the extreme, and I don't blame him. But he literally formatted his card right in front of him
Wow.
and left.
Wow.
And this made the news. It was such a big thing.
Nice.
This is a big wedding, and I was like,
move.
I read that, I was like, fuck
Ballsy.
yeah, dude. Yeah, like I mean,
That must have felt so good.
like
Yeah.
when anybody asks me like, what does hangry mean, I tell them that story.
Did he have to pay him back?
No.
Or, wow.
No, non-refundable. He showed up to
Wow.
do his job, and
And
he
they
got screwed.
fucking
Yep.
fucked him.
And see with these cameras, dual slots. I would have done the same thing. I would have formatted the first one, watched her reaction, and be like, I have a backup card, by the way.
I'll do it again if you don't feed me.
Do it again. I swear. I did it once. I'll do it again. But no, feed me. Like I have 2 weddings coming up. I also got 2 more tentative weddings that I talked about in the last with them in the last 3 days. And if these go through, then already right now in April, this will be my busiest wedding year so far.
Nice.
And every single one of them, I meet with them ahead of time, and
Mhm.
every single one of them, I make sure that me and my assistant are able to get food.
Yep.
And I don't force them like, you will feed us. Like I ask, and it was like, if you don't want us to have food, then that's cool. Like just let us know. We'll eat before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that one thing there is like, what's the reason not to feed you? It's budget, right?
Yeah.
So in my eyes, it's like, feed me, take it out of the budget, but I'm charging you more.
Right. And they wouldn't know that.
They wouldn't know.
Miscellaneous.
Exactly.
What's the thing?
Miscellaneous fee.
Anybody, if I've shot one of your weddings, please don't get mad at me because I didn't start doing this until very recently. But what's the charge on the contract? It's camera gear, like
Depreciation.
yeah, but it's a different word. I can't remember what it is now. I don't have my contract in front of me. Gear maintenance. And it's because I mean, like right there on that tripod, that's like about $6,000 worth of stuff.
Yep.
What if it breaks? I need to buy a new one.
True that.
So,
Yeah.
so
Pay for a
technically,
portion of my insurance.
every one of my clients is like a sponsor.
Yeah.
Insurance, yes.
And like, it depends on the client. I think like you can break it down all the way down to all those things to like value your work and,
Right.
and charge a lot. Or, you know, your work can speak for itself and you're just like, this is my rate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's all inclusive.
Take it or leave it.
I don't need to break it down for you.
Right.
And
This
it
is
took
what
me
I
years.
charge.
It took me years for that though.
Yeah. And I think that like, and this is different for everybody, like try to be in a position where you don't need the work.
Mhm.
Like if you don't need the work, then you can only, you only accept the work that you want.
Right.
And that's going to be your best work. And so like, that's where I'm at. It's like this wedding, like, it's more of a favor for Donna. Cause like, you know, she's been such a supporter of me and my work and everything at Nissan. And so, you know, when she asked me to do that, I was just like, yes, you know, I've never done a wedding. I don't really have any interest in doing weddings, but for you, yes. I mean, you have to pay me. Like my work is valuable and you will need to pay me. I'm not going to do this pro bono, but if you do hire me and you do pay me, I'm going to do my
best,
darndest
yeah.
to give you something amazing.
Yeah. And you might fall in love with it.
I
Who
might,
knows?
yeah. I mean,
there's
so
a lot of
far,
different-
the process has been great.
Yeah.
You know, Parker Wahlbecker?
Yeah.
That's his name, right?
The photographer.
The full-time filmmaker?
Filmography.
Filmography.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does a full like wedding video pro course. It's like $200. I paid for it. Wealth of knowledge.
Did he do, was it like the masterclass thing?
It's kind of like a masterclass,
But
but
it's-
it's on his own site.
Oh, cool.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wealth of knowledge, like actual like on-site like follows.
Right.
So you can see them filming what they're showing you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I've just been binge watching those tutorials.
That's awesome.
And it's been life changing. Not only has it prepared me for things that I had black holes in terms of gear, mostly it was audio, but also just like camera settings and like where to be, how the wedding's going to flow, things not to forget. Because I mean, the biggest thing that people stress out about on weddings is the moment happens once.
Right.
It's not like, and take 2, please. First kiss again.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Oh,
It's
gosh.
over.
If
It's
that
over.
has happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like
Yep.
it's just like you need to know where to be, when to be, how to be
And it's so
the
important.
first time.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so important to meet, like for me, that's why I like meeting the clients ahead of time.
Mhm.
I go over the shot list, a very basic shot list.
Yeah.
Because I've had weddings, one of the weddings I'm shooting this year, they don't want to do the first look.
Mm.
They're not signing a wedding contract.
Mm.
They're not having a cake to cut. And I looked at him, I was like, well, I can't
So
not
what
charge
am I
you my
shooting?
full price. I was like, I can't not charge you my full price, but I don't really know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And they laughed like, just take the pictures. It'll be great. And I was like, okay. And they're a super sweet couple. And I'm very excited to do the wedding. It's in a really cute little bar in South Tahoe. Super excited about it. But yeah, it's going to be probably one of the most simple ones that I've done.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to eat.
There you
Big question there.
Yeah.
Always the big question.
Always, especially for me, man.
go.
Ex-fat kid.
I found out it's going to be 93 degrees during the ceremony.
Yeah,
Ooh.
buddy.
I was like talking to
Hot boy.
my cameraman. I was like, all right, what are we going to wear? We're going to match. Like, we're going to wear like brown shoes, like blue pants, and a black button up with a black tie. We're going to look sick. And I looked at the weather. It was like 93. I was like, it's all bets are off.
Yeah.
I'm wearing shorts and a button up t-shirt
White
and
silk shirt.
sneakers.
Yeah.
I might even go
Flip-flops,
topless with a
bro.
bathing suit, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
buddy.
And so, yeah, I just like threw that all out the window. I was like,
Rock
I
the
am
banana
not
hammock.
running around with a video head monopod and a
Oh, yeah.
gimbal.
Yep, that sweat's just dripping down your face.
Yeah,
and people are just
miserable.
looking at you like,
Yeah, like this guy's gross.
and it's the
How is he
ugliest
holding that
photos.
camera? It's so wet.
The voice.
Yeah, you're like trying to direct people. You're like, don't look at how wet I am.
Yes. Focused on you, Patricia, okay?
We're all wet here, okay,
We're
guys?
all- everybody smile. Wiping it off your...
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the wedding's gonna be good. I'm excited about it. I've got a bunch of stuff planned, in terms of like just orchestration and where all the cameras are gonna be and the shots and stuff. So I'm excited to see all come together, and I'm honestly excited for the editing process the most. I love sitting behind the computer editing videos and seeing it all come
first.
together.
That's a first.
That's a first.
'Cause I hate it.
Yeah, I love that part of it.
Absolutely.
I love the file organization. I love naming
Oh, you're
everything.
such a weirdo.
So like, so
kidding.
Nerd.
I'll pull my stuff off my camera, throw it on my computer, and I'll like go through and scrub through every single file and trim them so that
To work well.
every
yeah.
second of file on my computer is usable. And I'll name it. I'll be like dolly up or parallax left or like brides push in, focus pull. Like I'll name it so that, you know, if I come back to the project in 2 or 3 months, 4 months,
5
and I need
years.
to change something, or 5 years even, or I'm working with somebody else and they need to understand where the files are, it's
True.
intuitive. It's like, you know where it is, you know what I'm looking for. That's the word. I've worked with some people before where they're like, hey, can you make a video off of this footage? And I'm scrubbing through it and like, you know, it's a drone footage and the first half of the entire clip is just like the drone flying around,
Right.
like
There's
not
nothing
even
to
get
use.
nothing to
Anything,
use. I'm like, this is
yeah.
a fucking waste of my time. Like, why are you not scrub? Like, first of all, when you're shooting video on a camera, press the record button when you're ready. Don't press it 50 seconds before you're about to make your shot. You're like, that's
Different for a podcast, okay?
that's true. That's the thing. Like if you're running around getting a bunch of shots, like line everything up, get your exposure right, get everything ready, press record, do your movement, turn the button off, move on.
Right.
And that way in post, it's not that hard. You have everything ready. You're not doing that much trimming. But yeah, like just try to stay organized. And that's like part of, I like that process. I like the organization. I like seeing it all come together, put it all in Premiere. And I try to be as I want to say forethoughtful, but that's not a word.
Forward thinking.
Forward thinking, but that's also not
No.
whatever. You know what I'm trying
Not
to
what
say.
you're thinking of, yeah, but yes.
I like to try to.
We know what you're thinking. I don't
I
know
think
if they know
Parker
what they're
Wahlbecker puts it as like to think, shoot with the edit in mind. That's what he says.
That's smart.
And so like, you know, I try to do that a lot, even with the stuff at Nissan. I'll write the entire shot list almost shot for shot before I go out
Whole
and shoot.
thing. Stack of
Like
papers.
4 or 5 pages. And so like when I'm shooting, I get all the shots. And when I come to post, it's like putting a puzzle together, but it's a puzzle you already know. It's just like plug, 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 plug.
Preemptive.
Preemptive.
Right?
It works.
We're reaching, but it's getting there.
How long did it take us to come up with the one word that now I can't think of?
Oh my God. Yeah. We spent like an entire episode not talking about trying to figure out this word, but kept trying to like figure out what it was. And so it's brand loyalty now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was wow, what was it? Oh my God.
We'll go back and listen to it, but
I got messages on my phone before because we figured out preferences. Because we figured it out later in the podcast. But a couple of the listeners were listening to the podcast. They're like, I just started. And I was like, oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And then like 10 minutes later, they're like, preferences? Question mark. And I was like, it's really unfortunate that a listener figured that out before I did, and it was in my own head. So yes, it was. Apparently, we need writers now. So it was good to have that. Yeah.
Nice.
It's really smart though, the planning ahead. I think that also can apply to the photography end, or just shooting with the end goal in mind. Because sometimes you go into a shoot and not having what the edit might look like towards the end, or you have the idea in your brain, but you don't know the execution behind it, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a hyper edit. When you go into hyper edits, like the
focus stacking.
Yeah, focus stacking, or you're gonna do like long exposure stuff with different things in the background. So planning ahead really key for like, and I really like how you do the video and just like trimming everything, because I'm one of those that like I'll press record and then I'll like leave it for a little bit and then I'll do the shot, and then I'm just like, I have
way to call him out on his own podcast, buddy.
It's okay. I'm learning.
Don't do this.
I'm learning.
Looks right at Mike.
I mean, it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You still get the shot, and that's what matters in the end. It's just you're adding more work to yourself on the end, or anybody else that you're working with.
Yeah. Are you using 1, 2 cameras, 3 cameras? How are you shooting
for this wedding?
Yeah.
So I brought my A7 III and my A7 IV, and then my support camera has an A7 III.
Okay.
And so we're using 3 cameras. 2 will be used for the most part. And it depends on the scenario, like whether we're doing couples poses or the first look, or, you know, we're doing detail shots. You know, I'd say the only situation where we're actually going to set up 3 cameras is probably going to be during the ceremony and the reception. And so, yeah, we're using a 3 camera setup. And, but other than that, we'll be running around on gimbals, getting details and stuff.
Sweating your butt off.
Hopefully not. Just dive in the river.
I feel bad, but I have no sympathy for you in the temperature territory.
No,
because I started my photography career in Hawaii. 80, 90 degrees, 70% humidity.
I don't even want to hear it.
It's hot.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, imagine like a constant dog breath.
I've been in Hawaii, man.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
Oh, I love
the humidity.
But standing outside,
East Coast humidity.
No, but it's nice because I got to stand outside in shorts, flip flops, and like a really, really light like button-up shirt just for the wind to go through. Oh, bro, flippy floppies.
You didn't trip doing some parallax moving with your flip-flops?
I want to talk about it.
Yes. Like, I can push in, I can't pull out.
I would kick them off and walk on the sand. Like, yeah.
Dude, that slipper gets stuck in the sand and you just trip over.
You just fall over, yeah.
Like, hey, it's like the beer, though. You keep holding gimbal up. You like do like triple barrel rolls, and the camera's still holding up above the sand.
It was slow clapping, and the bride's like, I'm right here. Like, no, but he fell. It was great.
You review the footage, like, I got the shot still. My auto tracking is amazing.
You could just hear the cameraman laughing in the background, too, like just chuckling to himself.
Yeah.
Calling himself
so
an idiot.
Good. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you come out with this food. I have nothing but full faith in
Thanks, man.
your ability. I mean, like I helped you, and I'm playing it fast and loose with the word help here. Helped you with the Aria video that we did for Nissan. And if that is any sign of what's to come, then I'm pretty excited to see it. So
Thanks,
it's gonna
man.
be awesome.
I appreciate that.
I have a specific story that I would like you to tell our listeners.
Okay.
And that's the acquisition of some of your equipment before you left to Vegas.
Oh yes. So, we hire DJ, and he walks in and, just completely outplays me with the amount of gear that he has. I'm shooting with
like 7 bags full.
Yeah, I'm shooting with like a beat up A7 III that I'd already dropped off my fucking balcony. You want me to tell that story real quick?
Yeah, that actually I do. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like fresh out of breaking both my ankles. I'm like getting out of the serving job, trying to create, a full-time filmmaker job for myself. And so I'm like, what can I do? I can't walk. I finally get out of the wheelchair. I'm like, I'm on double boots, right? And I'm able to walk with double boots. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to work as a real estate photographer because I can walk, fuck it. And so, I get the lens, I get the Laowa 12 mil full frame manual lens with the, I already had an A7 III. And so I'm practicing with this lens around my house, and I'm like trying to get creative with it. So I grab my Gorilla Pod to try to get a shot of the patio, and I want to try to shoot back towards the house. And so I'm on the second story, and below the second story is like this, I don't know, like a boulder field. It's like big rocks, probably, 4 we're on video, so probably like this big.
Oh, this was in Aspen, right?
No, this is here in Reno.
Oh, here. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
this is here in Reno. This is right before I got hired at Nissan.
Oh, so you were up at
Same place.
okay, got you.
And so I like set my camera on the Gorilla Pod on the balcony,
Gosh.
faced towards the house, and I like go inside real quick to go grab something, and then I just hear this, and it had rotated off the balcony and fell 2 stories down onto the rocks below. I'm like, no, fuck no! I just spent $1,000 on this lens, and I walk back down, I grab the camera, I'm like freaking out, and I like look at it. The hot shoe mic, the mount, the hot shoe, it's like dented. And the lens is like physically scratched on the top. And like I pull it out, camera's fine, lens is fine.
Just
100% fine.
Best case scenario in that
100%
situation.
fine. And so like, I'm a climber too, so I beat my gear up. It's like in and out of bags, bumping against rocks, gear, whatever. And all these people that like, have UV lenses on their lens and everything's like spick and span. And it's like, I see the appeal there to keep your gear as nice as possible, but if it's because you think it's going to break, it's not. So it's super tough.
I would like to say that when I applied to Nissan, I walked in, and you and I immediately bonded over the Sony.
Yeah,
because I had just switched like a few months prior.
Alpha.
Yes, all day. Alpha. Yeah.
Alpha.
So I
Too far.
tiny table, bro. But his A7 III had a skin on it, the camo skin.
Oh, we talked about skins.
And we talked about skins. So when I was working at my last job, I had somebody come in and bring their it was an A7 III, ironically enough, and they had a skin too, but they just came from Burning Man. So all that dirt and grime got trapped in there. And he's like, "Oh, I came in for a sensor cleaning, and like, can you clean the body too?" And I was like, "Yeah."
People pay for sensor cleans?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about the average you're going to pay for a
5
professional.
seconds.
Right, but it's the danger that goes, and you know how to do it. I know how to do it. Just scratch the sensor.
With what?
The swab.
Anything you clean it with.
I've seen people
use a sensor swab.
I had a lady bring a camera in for me to fix. She's like, "I hope you can fix this. I don't have to buy my daughter a new camera." And I was like, "Well, let me see it." Took it off, looked at it. I have a picture somewhere on my phone. I'll show you. She tried to clean the sensor with Q-tips, and she permanently scuffed the entire inside of it. And not even just the sensor, but the focus plate on top was scratched.
Wow.
And I was like, this is impressive. And I came back out and I was like, I got good news and I got bad news. And she's like, well, tell me the bad news first. I was like, okay, well, the bad news is I can't fix this and it's irreparable and you destroy the camera, unfortunately. She's like, well, what's the good news? I was like, your daughter gets a new camera.
And you get to pay for it.
And her daughter does long distance prairie wrangling, like cattle herding. Sorry, herding.
You can hurdle.
I grew up in this community and I can't even say the words right. Cow herding. And she goes like state to state doing this stuff, right?
Wow.
And this camera is her livelihood. She takes pictures of the sunsets, the cows, the tags on the cows, like all that stuff. Ruined it.
Wow.
Luckily, it was a T3i. No, it was a T3 base.
Yeah.
So really, she's only out like $300. Okay. But I was like, yeah, you might have to buy the T8 if you really want to make it up. It's like $700.
All right, well, I guess if you're nervous about it, go get it cleaned. But
and it's gonna be like $45 to $75. Be a man.
Be a man.
Be a woman. Be alpha.
Be alpha.
Be alpha. Clean your own sensor. But what was your original question?
What? Oh man, see, this is the tangent I was
so
talking about.
I tangented off of the crackhead.
Yeah.
All right.
The local.
So again, the gear envy I got from him, right? So I'm shooting with busted ass A3. He's got an A7 IV and an A7 R5. Together, I'm just like, all right, who the fuck is this guy?
Double alpha,
and double alpha,
double A.
And then I also, he convinces me, I convince myself to go buy an A7 IV. I'd been looking for an upgrade for some time, and so I get it. And then, the one thing that you got to take into account as a film producer with this camera is a crop factor for 4K 60, 1.5. It's a huge crop factor.
It's massive.
It's massive. Yeah, it is. And so I was shooting on a 28 to 75 Tamron 2.8 for most of my video work inside the car.
Which is a pretty solid lens.
It's a great lens, tack sharp, macro lens in terms of how the focal distance is really close. It's really, really an amazing lens. It's been my workhorse. But with the crop factor shooting 60, which I needed to do for the detail shots in the car, it was too zoomed in now. I was shooting at 1.5 to 28. It's like almost
30,
44,
something, yeah.
42.
Yep.
And so it's way too zoomed in. And so I'm like, all right, well, I need to get a wider lens. You know, I was like, DJ, can I use your 16 to 35? And it was just beautiful. Like the 2.8 aperture was great low light condition. You know, shooting at 16 cropped in is 24. So it's even a little bit wider than I was shooting before. Yeah. And so it was just like, it was perfect. And I knew that, especially with this camera and the capabilities, and I need to adjust for the crop factor, that was the lens I needed. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, great. I'm going to spend $2,500 for a lens, you know, like great. And of course, like DJ doesn't have FE, he's got GM. It's the GM series in his bag, yes. You know, the Grandmaster.
Hey man, if you're going to go alpha,
you got to go all out. Yeah.
Alpha Grandmaster. Yeah.
And so, so I'm just like, all right, well, you know, I can't, you know, I got to get this lens. And so I start browsing around. You know, I knew I was moving to Vegas because I was going to be moving because DJ was my replacement. So I'm like looking at Vegas, I'm looking at Reno, and I find a 16 to 35 G Master lens in Reno for sale for $1,400.
Insane. He sent me. I remember you sent me that, and you're like, he's like, 2 questions. Do you think this is legit? Yeah. And is this a good deal? And I was like, I hope so, and go now.
Right. Yeah. So I show up to this guy's house. He comes out shirtless and like barefoot, and it looks like a dingy place. And he also like was like 30 minutes late to his own house. So I think he was just like in there doing drugs or something.
Watch him be one of our listeners too.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Sorry.
And so I like come out, and I mean, dude, chillest bro ever. You know, like friendly. I mean, very hyper, scratchy. Like, I just love photographers, man. You know, like that's just the creative process is like so nice. God. You know, it's like the hands and the fingers, and and just like that pivotal question. He's like, so how much did I want to sell this for? He's like asking me that, you know, and I'm just like
$1.
The devil in me was like, $200. Should have. And so I think I said I was like, you know, $1,300. And he's I said I like told him exactly. I was like 1,400. And then he downsold himself. He's like, I want to give it to you for 1,300. He's like, cause you're a bro, man. Like you're chill, man. You're chill. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna argue with that, you know. And so I walked away with basically mint in the packaging, warranty, papers, everything. 16 to 35 G Master 2.8 for $1,400 or $1,300.
I can safely say that is that and how and I can't fully tell this story on the podcast right now, but how a friend of mine acquired his camera as well. Mm-hmm. I think I told you about that the Fuji.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean the lesson there, and this is every time I tell this story to people have similar stories. Yeah. And the lesson there is buy from crackheads.
You have to. Yeah.
And luckily from the crackheads.
Luckily, there's quite a few here in Nevada.
Yeah,
more than a few.
More than a few. A couple.
They got some nice stuff.
There's probably a couple.
They got some nice stuff.
They do, and it's not our place to ask where they got it from.
No,
it's just my place to ask if it's.
Don't ask for a receipt. You don't need it.
Well, this space right here. I asked Joel in the beginning. I was like, well, I sent him a message immediately. 90% of me was hoping like that we could get in the space. But 10% of me was like, it's a scam, bro. There's no way. Because the picture that he took of this, it looked like a stock shot of the room. And I was like, there's no way that this dude has like this random space set up in the back of his business. I messaged him and I was like, do you have any more pictures? And he sent me a couple more. I was like, oh, fuck, it's real. Like, it's really real.
It's really nice in here.
I mean, it's
pretty good.
Chairs are pretty comfortable. This table's nice.
Not saying your apartment was bad, but this is way better.
Yeah, I tried. We used to be in my dining room.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere, man.
We did. Well, so it was originally in my room, and I put sound panels up in my room and everything. I showed you the
that was like the first episode 3.
Yeah, and then so we got to do 2 episodes in there.
Yeah,
and then Cammie moved in, my sister moved in with me, and then so now, like she's in that room. So I was like, well, and she's into like witchy crystal stuff, and I was like, this can be your altar now. I guess I gave her the wall mounted desk apparently. But we recorded 2 episodes in there with the downshifting dog. and then we moved to the dining room because that was the only place we could think of. And then we had to deal with the people upstairs.
And then video. And then now
oh, yeah. Well, he was really dark in the first video for some reason. And we both lit the same way. We had the Pavo tubes, 45 degrees each, facing each way. But for whatever reason, this guy's face was really, really dark.
Not because of skin tone.
I was not going to say this. So you can say that.
No, it wasn't the hat either. I think it was just really poorly lit for what it was, but
it looked good and
it's fine.
Yeah, it worked for what it was for our first one. I'll see if I can I want to show you the whole video, but like just
What camera are you shooting on?
The same.
These two, same
Same one.
setups. Yeah.
I found that the A7 III likes to overexpose its footage.
I did not know that.
It looks okay.
So
I'd say there's
the
a
actual
slight-
quality is better too. This is just text message to each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would say.
Like-
I mean, the
like
lighting's
360p.
fine. I feel like you're just lacking a key light. It
But
looks
this is 480p, bro.
Wow.
This is like Nintendo 64 back in the day.
It's pretty even. It's not the worst.
Yeah.
It's better in here.
Back when I had the baby bottle, before I got sponsored by my girlfriend.
Yeah, she
The
owns
baby
the show
bottle.
now.
Yeah. And then one more thing too, I wanted to ask or wanted you to talk to about, just in case we could help her in any way. Your girlfriend's amazing stuff.
Yes.
I love
So
her
good.
stuff so much, and I think everybody should see it. Even if they're not in art, they should just see it just once.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, if you want to check it out, it's Art Has Energy. I'm about to spell, not list numbers. ARTHAZ Energy.
Nice.
And there's a website, arthasenergy.com, and it's also her Instagram handle. She used to be a nurse, bedside nurse for a long time, quit when COVID came around, has been an artist this whole time as well. And so in the beginning, a lot of her art has been medically inspired. And that's kind of like where a lot of the inspiration from her art came from. It started off with very, very specific, detailed inkings with either micron pens or brush ink, dip ink. And that's where a lot of the original stuff that you'll see on her website is. Now she's moving towards more like upscale, abstract resin pours, and trying to get into the local scene for like developing restaurants, luxury real estate, and try to get like these bigger like resin pours, like 6 feet by 6 feet, like
Awesome.
big
Cool.
pieces, hundreds of pounds. And so that's kind of her direction now. But yeah, check her out. Art Has Energy. I'm sure she'd appreciate the traffic.
And I'll be sure to when we launch the episode, our socials will be on there. He now has 2. I'm gonna keep making fun of you until you start
Vero.
posting on them more. And then I'll make sure the yours are on there too, and I'll give Hannah her own little spot down there as well.
Cool.
So if anybody wants to check it out,
Appreciate that.
she does sell her stuff, or does she do commission?
She does,
only?
yeah. All the stuff online are available for print.
Perfect.
And then she does have some originals available. She's kind of in the process of, she's actually up in Reno right now doing an art show. So she does have some
Dope.
originals. They're just not posted on the site yet.
I know we talked about it at dinner, but the heart one. If you guys go to her website and see, it's a very detailed, organic heart. That is, I love that thing. Like, she could charge tens of thousands of dollars easily for it.
It's the detail on it is
Sick.
insane.
That's so good. You guys have to check it out.
And they take months. Those
yeah,
pieces
absolutely.
took, like the brain and the heart specifically took, she'd have to say it's probably like 5 months.
I think
4 months.
I think it'd be really cool for her to sit down over the course of one of those drawings and have her phone set up and do a time lapse
Yep.
with a voiceover, like
Yeah.
describing, not obviously giving away her secrets on what she does, but
yeah.
like, I think because that kind of stuff gets a lot of traction on TikTok and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care who you are, I don't care how old you are, whether you hate TikTok or not, it is a platform that is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere, despite what everybody keeps saying about it being banned, blah, 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 whatever, Trump this, whatever. If you're an artist and you're really trying to get your name out there, you have to be able to want to go on to different platforms, even if you don't agree with them. I'm on TikTok, for crying out loud. It's a little addictive, not going to lie, but I have my videos on there, right? Vero, Instagram, even though it's switching. I mean, I used to be on Tumblr, Foursquare, SmugMug, all that stuff. Like, you got to stay relevant. So, but I would love to see a time lapse of her. I'm going to talk to her about that later.
It's kind of hard to compress 5 months into 60 seconds, though.
Oh man, yeah, it'd be so.
Possible, but
It's possible. I mean, hard as in more hard to swallow to condense such a long project into
Right.
Plus, then it makes it look like it's so easy.
Sweet swipe. That's it's pretty hard to turn something like that into a moment that lasted 2 seconds.
So I shot this prom. I'm just kidding. So actually, I do. There's a part of that story that I can tell you. So I did volunteer my time. They were like, oh, well, because I lived in Reno. They're like, we'll give you like $50 for gas. And I was like, oh, okay, I appreciate that. And they're like, do you want a coffee or Red Bull? I was like, I'll take a Red Bull. I love Red Bull. Sponsor me. And so I was like, I'll take a Red Bull. She's like,
The
okay,
Alpha,
so
drink Red Bull.
the Alpha drink Red Bull, yeah.
there it
None of
is.
that monster shit. So I showed up and the gentleman handed me the 50. I put it in my pocket. I didn't even look at it. I didn't even care if it was a full amount. I was volunteering my time. Took it straight to the pocket. Took all the pictures. Went home. On the way home, I stopped by Jimmy John's. Wanted to give me a sandwich. And I pulled up. There's a drive-thru right there in Legends. And I pulled up and I ordered my sandwich. Came around the corner. Handed the 50 to this 18, 19-year-old person working there. And she was like, I can't take this. And I was like, why? And she's like, it's not real. And I keep hearing these stories about these younger kids not recognizing older $100 bills and stuff, right? And they think it's like Monopoly money or whatever. So in my mind, that's what I was thinking was happening. And I was like, it's real. Like, I just got paid with that. I'm just trying to get my sandwiches, you know. And she's like, no, it's like legitimately not real. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, it says for movie use only. And I was like, what the fuck? So she handed it back and I was like, okay. So I give her my card. I apologize profusely. And being an ex-cop, she had every right to have like kept the money too. And like, she could have called the cops if she wanted to. But she gave it back to me. We were laughing. I gave her my card and I made the joke. I was like, I'll show you my bank account. I'm not a swindler, I promise. So I get home and the lady that hired me to do the prom pictures showed up for me to give the pictures to. And I told her, I was like, hey, it doesn't really matter because it's kind of funny and it's all over with anyway, but he gave me like a fake 50. I don't think he knew. And she was like, what do you mean? And I showed it to her and she was like, oh my gosh, she called him on the phone right there. And she was like, you gave him a fake $50 bill and it's pretty obvious. And he was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it says for movie use only. He was like, oh shit. and I was laughing. I was like, it's okay. He's like, what? He's like, did you get the pictures from him? And I was like,
you're like, I got them hostage here. I'm about to format my car.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I'm not going to give you the pictures until I get my 50. I was all breathing heavy. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, I did all the pictures. They're all edited and they all say for movie use only on them. So, but anyway, so I have it still, the thing, and I'm going to take that. I'm going to frame it.
Nice.
And yeah, it's really, really funny. So
solid.
It's a funny story.
So anyway, Kyle, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. Super awesome,
man.
Super fun.
Happy to be here.
We'll have any time, buddy. Come back up and we can do another one.
You want to plug your socials real quick?
Sure, man. Yeah, follows? I mean, the podcast we run is called The Climbing Majority. Mm-hmm. Our Instagram is the.climbing.majority. And my personal Instagram is BroxRocks, BROX_ROCKS.
You didn't go with the X on the rocks?
No, I tried. It didn't look so good.
Oh.
And rocks because I climb rocks.
Yeah.
And my last name is Broxterman.
Nice.
So BroxRocks.
Also, fun factor. This man over here does not like text messaging.
He doesn't like text messaging?
I hate text messaging because I use Android.
Oh, yeah. So green bubbles are just a bleh.
If I was Apple, I could use Apple Message, and that doesn't compress video and pictures as much. But Android compresses everything like garbage.
Yeah.
And you can't I can't use Android text message on desktop either. So what the fuck is the point? I hate texting. I don't like using my thumbs. I'd rather I'd rather send you a text like a sentence in 5 seconds.
So he's an avid Discorder.
I love Discord. I love WhatsApp, Signal. You know, I use all of them because everybody likes to use their own. So I just use what everybody else wants to use, and I have them all.
Oh, that's funny. Well, this was
cool, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, man. It was really fun.
Yeah, likewise. This is 57 minutes. This is pretty good. If you guys made it this long, I appreciate it. If you took a nap, I don't blame you.
I could have been taking a nap right now.
Liar.
The sushi.
That was another joke. Yeah, all the food, the Kanak attack, bro.
Kanak attack. So. If you're from Hawaii, yep, that's what. Yeah, you'll know.
So when you guys listen to this, give me feedback as you have been. Message Mike or myself if you have any other questions or any ideas, anything you guys want us to do in the future, anything we can do to improve. We're always up for constructive criticism. Patrick, I'm not going to listen to anything. Not Patrick Roach. Sorry, not the other Patrick's going to listen. My other friend, he's like, we're friends, because he's going to be on the show, and he'd be like, I heard you talking shit about me. I'm like, no, I mean Patrick Roach, an old friend of mine.
Specify.
Yeah, well, he sends me messages directly because they're inappropriate.
Specify your Patrick. Specify your Mikes.
Yep. So we will see you guys again next week. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.